Oh, gotta love the two-story houses. All right, so you made it to the finished construction phase of your home and you come by the job site, you're taking a look around at all the selections that you made earlier on in the design build phase and you hate it. You don't like the wall color selection, you don't like the tile you chose, or you're even considering tossing out the fireplace. So you call up your builder, you leave them a voicemail about your concerns and about the changes that you want to make. And you go about your way thinking that everything's handled. And this is the myth that we're busting in today. You can't just approve it. Well, not like that anyway. My name's Nick. I'm a superintendent for a custom home builder here in Central Florida. And I'd love for you to stick around in today's video. I'm gonna be talking about what an approval during a home building project actually is, why your builder keeps bugging you for an email, what actually happens behind the scenes when you say, let's change it. And we're gonna talk about how to use approvals so you don't end up with surprise bills or delays. I'm Nick, this is my channel, Got Studs, where we're cutting through the BS in home building. Do me a huge favor, if you're new to this channel, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps push this information out to people who may need it. Okay, let's get started. That latch is on here somewhere. All right, let's talk about what an approval really means. And it's probably not what you think as a homeowner. A homeowner assumption would be, hey, I met you on the job site, told you about my concerns, the changes that I want to make. That is my approval. So here's what an approval actually is in a home building project. It's documented decision with a documented cost and a go ahead in writing. Three things that we're gonna hit on when we've made a decision that we wanna change something and it needs approval. One is the scope. The scope is what is changing. What room are we talking about? What product are we talking about? What color are we talking about? What's the quantity of what we're talking about? Number two is gonna be the cost. How much more is it gonna cost you to do this? Or if it's a change of something you wanna subtract, how much money is it gonna take off the project if I delete something? And number three is the authorization. You have to say it in a traceable way. And for most builders, especially with us, it's going to be an email. Sometimes it can be a builder portal, but it's going to be either a combination of one or both and a signed change order. Okay, so we talked about what an approval is. Let's talk about the actual process and what takes place behind the scenes when you say, let's change it. And this is also why we bug you for an email. So you hated the paint color. You want to change it. The whole house is getting changed. We're going to talk to you on the job site. We're going to get your thoughts and your concerns and why it is you think that the color that you chose won't work. And after we've talked about everything and you're just set on the decision that this is the wrong paint color for your house, we're going to move forward with a change order. And here's the steps that we take as the custom home builder to ensure that there is minimal delays and no surprises in cost. Step one, we have the conversation in the field. You're changing your mind. We send an email over to our project coordinator. This is where things start actually moving for you to be able to get a different selection on your color. Once that email hits the project coordinator's desk, this is usually step two in the process, they're gonna verify what colors are changing, where in the house is it changing, what's the sheen, and they're gonna get as much information about the change that you wanna make on the build as possible. And then they're gonna verify that, they're gonna list it out on the email, and typically they're gonna send it back over to you to verify that this is exactly what you wanna change, and you'll respond back saying, yes, this is all the things that I'd like to change in the house. The next step for us in the process is the project coordinator is gonna send it over to the estimator or the project manager, and their job is to actually get the pricing for the scope of work. And in this case, their job is to get a hold of the painter, talk to them through the entire process of like, hey, what's it gonna take to change the color that's on the walls now currently to the color that they want? And he's already gonna have all the information that you've given the project coordinator, and he's gonna get a price from the painter to do all the work. Usually the builder will have a markup fee for a change order, and they're gonna tack that on to the cost. And then that cost is gonna then be broken down in a line description and sent back over to the project coordinator. And they're gonna send it back over to you after they've verified all the information. And this is where the magic happens. You're going to officially approve it. And how do you do that? You just respond back on the email saying, yes, this is what I agree to, let's make it happen, or let's do it. Whatever your slogan is. And now we have a chain of emails with all the things that needed to take place in order for this change to happen. The project coordinator is then gonna send it out to me via email saying, Nick, here's what we've got. This is now coming back full circle to you after your meeting in the field with the homeowner, and we've got the green light to go. And then it's my job to get on the phone with the trades and get it scheduled. And until we've gone through this entire process of emails and we've talked to you about the cost and the time impact, and we've closed this entire loop, we don't have an approval. We just have hope. And hope don't float out here in the custom home world. Let's talk about maybe some real world scenarios here. And these have happened not particularly on this job, but on other jobs and many jobs I've been in the past where somebody assumes that it was just included, right? So you as the homeowner, you're walking the job site, you happen to stumble across the trades that are doing the install, and you see the tile right before they install it. And you're thinking to yourself, that isn't what I like. I wonder if I can get an upgrade on that. So you talk to the tile installer and they're like, sure, we can do X and X and X and Y and Z and Y and Z. And you leave thinking that, boom, I just had a conversation with the tile installer. They're handling it for me. They're just gonna do the upgrade and it's no extra cost to me. Until you see that extra $4,000 on your tile install bill. And here's where the stress starts to happen, right? So instead of coming to the superintendent and saying, look, I'd rather go with a different tile than the one that we're about to put up, you went to the trade, and the trade, maybe not knowing any better, talking to you as a homeowner, just trying to be nice, saying, yeah, we'll upgrade it for you. They don't even have the discussion with me out here in the field about the change. The change is made. And at the end of the project, we get a bill for an extra $4,000. What happened? Well, that wasn't included, and that sure wasn't an approval. Here's another issue that I get all the time out here in the field. The homeowner hits me up with a change that they'd like to make, and it gets sent to me via text message, or maybe it's a phone call that we had, a conversation that we've had back and forth, and I was left a voicemail. At times, we can have several houses going on at once. So that's a lot of conversations that I'm having, a lot of chatter that I'm working throughout the day to try to get organized. And it's why this is the most important step of the whole approval process. Don't just have a conversation with me in the field about it. In our case, email our project coordinator about it. And this next scenario is exactly why we need the process that I talked about earlier. So we were out here in the field, we had a discussion about the paint color change. Great, you verbally approved it to me. I knew that. We've got a great working relationship out here in the field. So I'm like, I'll handle it. We'll get you a cost. We'll take care of it, right? Well, again, I go do my other jobs. I get busy. The weekend comes and goes. And the painters who were scheduled to come out here and do the original work show up and start putting that original paint on the walls after you and I have already had the discussion about changing the paint color and that I would handle it and take care of it. This is where the process bites not just a homeowner in the butt, but us as the builder too. So this is why, again, going back to that format, email, 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 and get that approved before any changes are made in the field. So what actually needs an approval? Basically any and everything that actually changes the cost or the original design of something or the original decision on something. If it's a wall that's got to be moved, if it's an electrical outlet that you're not really happy with the location on, that's already been pre-wired, if it's plumbing fixtures that you don't like, if it's drywall texture you're not happy with, paint colors like we've been talking about this whole video, those are things that are going to need approval in order for us to change them. Stuff that doesn't necessarily need an approval to be changed, well, that's simple. That's like, say we're in the framing stage and you'd like a little extra blocking in the wall for your pictures that you want to hang. You know, we're going to have a pretty good amount of blocking sort of budgeted in for certain aspects like your toilet accessories and things like that. But just tweaking some adjustments like pre-wiring your house. We'll go out and lay out all your electrical boxes and your switches. Now, some we're going to have in certain locations for code, but you may not like a switch location in a bedroom. You may want to move it over a little bit. Again, some things have to be left alone for code, but some other things can be tweaked prior to, something getting roughed in. And that's generally speaking where you can, change things and not necessarily incur an extra cost. Things that are flexible before they actually get roughed in or they get finished, like, once drywall covers up the walls, if you wanted to move a light or an outlet at that point, then yes, that's going to be a change order. Now, here's another way it won't be a change order. Let's say we get to the finished part of the project and we notice something's not going to work based on the way the plan showed it. Now, if it's something the way that the prints came out, the prints have been approved by you and the builder, but we get it out here, we start building the actual house, And that's the trick with custom homes, right? We've never built this house before. We've never built this particular layout before. So everything, even though you see it two-dimensionally on a plan, it doesn't necessarily lay out like that three-dimensionally when we start building it. And there's times when we may have to tweak things or move something, and that doesn't require a change order or an extra cost to you. That's just something that we're going to make happen out here in the field so it works. What can lead to the best possible outcome for you as the homeowner to win the approval game? Well, documentation is absolutely key. And in the case of us, as a builder, up front, we're going to tell you at the very beginning, when you have something in mind that you want to change, you need to make sure that what you want to do is worth the time or the cost that you're going to incur before you actually start it. So once you got through that, email is the key. It just documents everything nicely. There's timestamps, there's dates. It goes to the people that need to see it, not the trades or not the suppliers, not the people that you think may need to hear it. No, it's the actual people that can coordinate it all, get it properly channeled to the correct people so we get to you the most accurate information and the most accurate cost in the field. Bundle your decisions, okay? The worst thing you can do is send 12 different emails about 12 different thoughts that you're having, okay? If there's that many changes that you want to make in your home, and that's not uncommon during any custom home building project, you may want to change your mind, and that's totally fine. But don't just come up with a decision and be like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then the next day you're coming up with another decision. And then the next day you're coming up with a decision. No, go through the project, go through the house, make sure you bundle up all the decisions you want to make and send them all through at one time. Last thing I'll say, if you want to win this approval game, communicate, communicate, communicate. Ask questions, right? You don't want to be out here assuming anything. If you say something to a trade, if you say something to a superintendent, you say something to your builder, follow it up with some communication. Text message, believe it or not, a text message is better than a phone call or a voicemail because there at least is some trace that we had a conversation about what your concerns are. Again, we're always going to kind of default back to the email. Your builder you're working with may be fine with text messages. They may be fine with the builder portal that they're using. Just make sure it's traceable when you're proposing changing something on your project. A good builder at the beginning of the project, right? During the pre-construction phase, during the design build phase, when you're signing contracts, they're gonna go over with you their change order process, right? And what it takes to get something approved. And if your builder's not having that discussion with you before you break ground on your house, this is a good time to pause, give them a phone call right now, send them an email asking, hey, just to clarify, when I want to change something in the field, what is the process and what should I expect once I do change my mind? Make sure you get clarification from them of the process so you don't end up at the end of the project with all these extra delays, all these extra costs that weren't communicated to you during the process because you're just out there telling your builder that this is what you want changed and they're just nodding their head saying, yeah, okay, we can do that. No, that's not gonna help anybody and it's gonna add a lot of extra stress that's not even necessary. So be sure before you break ground on the house, before you sign the contract, that you have clarification on what the process is for you to change something during the build and what the approval process looks like. All right, we're gonna finish it up with this. I'm gonna give you a scenario on why approvals are so important. And it's not always an approval from a homeowner that's necessary. Sometimes it's the supplier, sometimes it's us as the builder, sometimes it's the trades. And in this particular case, it didn't involve the homeowner. So we had our countertops delivered and installed. Those fabricators go off what they call the SKU number on the product that's been approved from the homeowner. So they went off all the sinks that the homeowner wanted and approved that we emailed them. We then get the sinks supplied to us. And before they go to install the sinks, they realize that they have the wrong kitchen sink in their possession. They're thinking, no big deal. It was probably just we got sent the wrong sink, but that wasn't the case. The sink that the homeowners had originally picked and approved was discontinued. And the supplier that was supplying the sinks decided to change it to something that matches closely to it, but didn't relay that to anybody. Didn't relay that to us as the builder, didn't relay it to the homeowner, didn't relay it to the trades or the fabricators for the countertops. And what ended up happening is the hole that was cut out for the original sink, we couldn't use that section of the slab. So we ended up having to actually go back, take that section of the slab out, and refabricate it to the sink that the homeowners originally wanted. Now, we couldn't find that sink. We actually had to get them to approve a different sink. But the whole story is this: that supplier skipped the step, and it cost them thousands of dollars to switch out that countertop. And just like that, just something so simple as, hey, I'm going to just give them something that closely matches it, and it was nowhere near close to what was already cut and fabricated in that on that countertop. And that's the premise of this whole video, was to just talk about and emphasize the importance of approval. I've been giving you scenarios this whole video about the importance of the homeowner communicating with the builder. Well, it's just as important that the trades communicate with the builder, that the builder communicate with the suppliers, and the suppliers communicate with the trades. Everybody's got to communicate, clarify, verify, and go through the proper channels and the proper steps to correct something or make something different or to change something. All right, that's all I've got for today. If you made it this far with me in the video, thank you. It's a huge help for me and the channel when you stick through the entire video and watch it. I hope the information I'm getting out there is helpful. And if it is, hit that comment section down there below. Let me in on some stories or some secrets, some trials that you went through when you were doing your project or your home building project, or some nightmare scenarios when you thought something was approved that wasn't approved. And do me a favor, check in every week. I'm dropping episodes just like this that dive into the pain points of home building. I'm Nick with Got Studs, where we're cutting through the BS in home building. I'll see you on the next project.